Hello, welcome back to the development log of my game. If you remember the last episode, I was commenting on this system here, in which I added more modules, or nodes, is what I've been calling them. The green ones have to do with variables, or logic. The blue ones are always the same, for the most part, besides like teleporting. And then these ones remain unchanged. I can switch between the player and this menu now. There's shadows coming from the player. I'm not sure what the name of this is, but I've seen it done in other games. I enjoy the gradient it makes. If I go ahead and create a simple explosion, we can see that the tiles are destructible by the modules, and I can also throw and pick up the different modules as well. That one destroyed itself because it has a health bar, and the explosions were causing it damage. If I come over here, I can attach a death defy to this next one, and what that will do is, if I go ahead and like click this a bunch, no matter how much damage it takes, it will live for just one hit. But since every time I trigger it, it makes a new hit, and then it gets hit by the explosion it created. So if I go ahead and duplicate this, and then double 2 explosions in this one I'm holding now. You see that one, it was left with 1 health because it was death defying. And if I continue doing this one, that one did not protect itself because there was 2 separate damaging. So this one was blocked, and then this one destroyed it. And then these ones I can go over later in this video, but there is more stuff with the map I'd like to show. But this mostly takes place in the scene view. I will enlarge it. First of all is the map generation. I'm using wave function collapse as the algorithm. We can see hallways formed, little rooms. There was a room like this, sort of doorway type things. and I created an AI. I need to just activate them first, and we can observe them in the scene view. Of course, if I unpause it and keep these selected, we can see the different enemies moving around. If we observe this one isn't doing anything. Oh, we saw this one, it just broke some of the wall there. I think this one is as well. Yep, there it went. They will communicate with each other. So one of them went up here and alerted the group over here. And then they came over to the player and are attacking the player. I can go back to the game view at this point and retreat for the moment and recreate this death-defy explosion. And I can eliminate the enemies in this way, as they also have health bars. And at this point, I think the last thing to explain is the new modules I created. Detach is best explained by have to make a new one. It's best explained through the visual, so I will activate it now, and then rather than exploding on top of me as a normal 1 second delay would, it activated where I detached it. So you see it blew up that one, and I was a safe distance away. So this just detaches it from the module it came from. So in the last video I had container, teleport to entity, double timer. I will just move these over to the side and explain the new ones. Duplicate makes 2 explosions, so it just doubles whatever the next one does. So if it went like this, it would be equivalent to a double in that position. So it's a simpler way to do a branch that just duplicates two of the same, like this. So this would be that other one simplified. And I'll bring death defy back. Death defy, I explained this some already. It stops the next destroying blow and leaves the entity at 1 health. As with next entity, death defy, which is mostly in reference to the container, as the next time it creates an entity, it will start with the death defy. So it's similar to this, but with death defy the sequence would be this, with this new one, the next entity, death defy, would be before the container rather than after, which could have some sort of effect. The random will choose between two different or the same nodes with a 50-50 chance. So half of the time it'll do this one and half of the time it'll do this one. But this one can be like 3 times in a row, and it might not go for 8 times in a row. And that's that one explained. The next one is the every other. It's very similar to the random. However, it will alternate between the two rather than doing it randomly. And all of these now are related to the variables. So there are 2 internal variables in the game state, variable 1 and variable 2. Increment will add 1 to the current variable. Decrement will subtract 1. Swap variable will switch the variable the player or the node is interacting with. So if this one was added 1 to A before, it would now add 1 to B instead, variable B. This one is another gate. This one is saying if the current variable is less than the other variable, it will do this one, but otherwise it'll do this one. And then repeat for variable is saying for whichever variable this one would increment, it will repeat the next, like the next input, like this. It will repeat this that many times. And then this one is similar. It delays for the variable divided by 8. And that's just so the variable isn't super long. And then the variable condition is somewhat similar to this one. However, this one will activate if the swap variable has it on variable A, and this one is for variable B. So if this would add to variable B, it would go in this direction, and if it would add to variable A, it would go in this direction. And that's about all for the new ones. I can re-explain some of the old ones. Timer will delay 1 second. Teleport to entity will teleport to the nearest entity. So that includes other modules and the player, including enemies. Containers will contain the path that continues. So if I add this one to my inventory, I have it here, I activate it. This is the container. I'll go ahead and activate it, and it functions very similarly to a module, except this is now the trigger, and it is not impacted by, like, with other ones, if I put this away, the effects will stop, but this effect is permanent so long as the module remains alive. I can like set a landmine and then blow the enemy up. Double, I think I've shown it a lot in the explanation. It just does two things at once. So I can show an example. So it exploded and it made a shield. Oh, and this is an example of where like the detach is useful, is where if you want to leave a shield in a specific spot rather than to follow the player or the module, I suppose. I think that is about it. One thing that interests me is if Death Defy counters the Destroy. I'll just delete those really quick. Okay, so it immediately destroys it. That's interesting. I guess that's if you don't want too much clutter, I suppose. I'll actually change that so that Death Defy can counter destroy, and then destroy triggers any destruction trigger, which is what this trigger technically is. I just have it on manual activation. Oh, and here you can see the handiwork of the enemies. And thank you for watching. I plan to upload weekly, hopefully. I like to provide updates for my different projects and with all this stuff I'm doing. I feel like this one is coming along pretty well. Should definitely be far more polished by next week. Of course, I do need it to be in a playable state by the end of tomorrow, actually. So maybe I'll like add a little score for how many enemies the player has eliminated. I really enjoy the concept, though. It reminds me of other games I like. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.